question for you, just a little question. What do you get? The data, what do you get from REST API, from things like Firebase, from a backend? Yeah, usually it is in data in JSON format. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. What it means is it is a way for you to format data in a very lightweight way, very fast, very lightweight way, and very easy for you to parse it too. Now, if you hear the question before, that is the data we get back from REST API, from backend services, it means that most apps now today must parse JSON. And as a developer, you need to know how to parse JSON too. So in the demo upcoming, I'm going to show you how to create this app just parsing a JSON data of some of my blog posts. Very simple, but it will help you a lot in learning how to parse JSON in iOS. So click the button right down below this video, the link right down below this video, download the starter project I prepared for you, some resources, and let's get into the demo.
Okay, my friend, let's open up Xcode and download the starter project right down below. There's a starter project that I prepared for you. Inside this, we have just some very basic structure for us, so that in this episode, in this workshop, we can just work on our JSON. Now, let's go into the main.storyboard right here. We have a navigation controller. Inside that is a table view controller, and it has one single cell. The purpose of this is we want to display on the table of episodes, right? Some of the episodes on my blog. Now, before we go into the details of our UI, we have a episodes table view controller displaying a table view of episodes, and then each of the cell is an episode table view cell. We have a model class right here is the episodes.script. Now, where does this data come from? Well, it comes from this ducblock.json. What is JSON? What does it look like? Here it is. It looks like this. And if you see the format right here, it's text, right? Basically, it is text. And what it is it is a chunk of text, a chunk of data that it returned for us from a server. So actually, this data right here is what I copy paste from the server, from my blog server. Alright, so now let me show you some example. Here is developer's Instagram. So instagram.com/developer, which is the API. It stands for Application Programming Interface of Instagram. So when we use Instagram API, it will return for us these kind of data, right? And if you look at that, the structure, the data itself is different, but the structure is the same because it starts with this curly brace and it ends with the curly brace, right? You see this? And then inside that it has a key and then a value. So the key value, right? And then it has a colon right here, and then inside that is another nested key value pairs, very much like Swift dictionary. Now, another example, if you go to Foursquare API and we use the data from this API, it also returns for us JSON. And another example, in Total iOS Blueprint 2, we use Foursquare API, we use Instagram API, and we use this API that allows us to get the latest information about the weather. Just pass in some coordinates, then we have the weather. And if I click into this URL right here, it returns for us a chunk of text. Looks really weird, but if we format it correctly, it looks exactly like this. So this one, it also starts with a curly brace, and it ends is the data. And in the data, notice this one has the key is the latitude, which is a string, right? The key is always a string, and then the value is this one is the double. Longitude, also a double. The time zone right here, the value is a string. And then the currently key, the value, guess what, is another dictionary, another JSON block, right? There we go. Now notice over here, the data key right here, the value is an array of data, right? It has each of the things, just like a dictionary. So let's go into the ducblock.json, and how about we will let's try to create some JSON, right, so that we can understand what it is. So I will just have some space right here. Let's create a block of JSON using the two curly braces. Inside this, let me think. Let's say we want to have the value here is the name is, let's say Johnny block, right? Johnny block, and then comma, and then another key value pair, right? Let's say you have the URL is, let's say developers.academy Johnny block. It doesn't make sense, but let's just have that as an example. Next up, let's say that is the key here is, the key is a string, and then the value is also string. So let's say we want to have another value typed. Let's say we have latest update, right? Latest update, which is usually we use Unix term, so it could be some string, some integer like that. It means that the number of seconds from 1970. Okay, we count the number of seconds from 1970, and then let's say we have episodes, or let's say we have post. Here is an array of posts, and inside this we have each of that is a chunk of data. And then here we have, let's say the title is iPod is coming out, something like that, right? And then we have the URL, something like that, and then we have, let's say, the latest update is some numbers, and that is one blog post, right? And then if I copy paste this guy, comma, copy paste, and then another comma here, and copy paste it, then we have an array of things. So what we want to concern about in this workshop is that we want to learn how we can translate these kind of data into Swift foundation object. It means numbers, arrays, dictionaries, string, integer, double, right? Those kind of foundation object. And this one is just for the example, so I will delete this thing. And if we look at this JSON that we get from dict-block.json right here, we have the feed, a key, has the title, has the link, right? Has the author, and then another key is episodes, and then we have here is an array of episodes. For each of the episode, we have the title, we have the link, we have the publication date, right? We have the author, we have the description of the episode, and then we have the thumbnail URL. And for one, if this thumbnail URL, if I copy this guy, paste it into our Safari right here, and yes, it is a URL. And we'll learn how we can download this data from the web to with this URL. Cool? You're in? Alright, let's use this thing. So I will go over the episode of Swift. The first step is always you need to learn how to download those kind of JSON. We don't have time to cover it here. So a sneak peek is you can use this network service right here. If you don't know how to download all of those JSON stuff, please check out Total iOS Blueprint 2. It helps you a lot downloading data from JSON, from the server, using JSON, all of those things. Inside this, I just want to cover with you how you can use JSON so that we can use it in Firebase, because Firebase is all about JSON. So let's go over the episodes right here. The first step is always model our data. So for each of the episode, we have the title, which is a string. I use string optional. Oops. String right here, and then we have the description is also another string, right? Let's use optional, and then we have the thumbnail URL, which is URL optional, because from the data we download from the web, it may or may not return us some data, right? So we have another one called created at, which is also a string optional, and then let's do the author, which is a string optional. And then we'll have the URL, which is URL optional. Sounds good? Alright, next up, let's write an initializer for us, a convenience initializer, so we can initialize all of these properties. Number one, we have the title, a string. We have description, also a string. Thumbnail URL. This is pretty basic, so I will go over very fast. Created at is also a string, and the author is a string, right? And then inside here, all we have to do is self.title is title, self.description is description, self.thumbnail URL is thumbnail URL, and then we have created at, we have author equals author. Alright, so I hope that you catch me. Okay. Sounds good. Typing in. Alright, so now when we get the data from Duc block over here, let's say that we do some processing, so that all we have to process is this one chunk of block right here, right? And we turn it into a dictionary. Think of it as a dictionary, right? Because right here it is a dictionary. So let's write an initializer for our episode in it, and then this contains an episode dictionary, and then the type is a string to any, right? Like that. Type is string to any. So we do self.title is equals to the episode dictionary subscript, but pay attention. I will hold the option key and click to ducblock.json right here. So pay attention that we have to use the exact key right here. If we don't use this title key, then it will return it for nil, right? Because it is a dictionary and if we use the correct key, then the value will be nil. So here we use title and we cast it as a string, right? And then we have description, or I can just use description equals episode dictionary subscript description as a string, right? So now let's pause this workshop. I hope that you will pause it and then do it for me. The URL, the created at, the author, and right, and then the thumbnail URL. Okay, so I hope that you do it. So pause the video now, pause the workshop now, and do it. So I hope that you do it. If you haven't, please pause this one and do it, right? So here is the way I do it. Number one, URL is our URL with an initializer with the string, and then we got the string from the episode dictionary subscript link, right? Because this is the link right here. This one we have to force it as a string, right? Or you can use if else. If we get the string, then but we know for sure that this one we have the link, so it's okay. Next up, let's have our created at, which is the episode dictionary subscript over here. We have the publication date, not created at, so pub date as a string, right? Next up, the author, the key is author now, so let's just use author equals episode EPS dictionary subscript author as a string, right? And then we have the URL equals thumbnail URL equals to again URL with the string of episode dictionary subscript. What is that? Thumbnail URL just like this. This one it's return thumbnail URL like that, right? Yeah, we missed that. We have to cast it as a string. So I hope that you catch me for that one. Alright, now all the initializer is set. So all we have to do left is let's get the data from that ducblock.json, right? And then we turn it into foundation object. So let's say in one of your projects you want to download data, JSON data from the web, right? You should have an object that downloads data from the web and return those things, right? We don't use the web right now, so I would just use a static function right here called download all episodes like this, and return for us an array of episodes like that. All right, now of course this one is very synchronous. It means that we return for us immediately an array of episodes. If you download data from the web, you have to use things like closure, or you have to use callback methods, all of those things, because downloading data from the web, it takes time. It is asynchronous, right? So let's have an episode array, empty array of episodes right here. Episode like that. right? An empty array of episodes. And then here's the trick. We can actually get the data from a file, a local file inside our project. And inside the code, we call our Xcode project, the whole app right here is called a bundle, right? So let JSON file is our bundle dot main, the main bundle, which is our project, the path for the resource. And we call it Duc block of the type is JSON, right? And then we have the JSON data, which is, now the JSON data here, we use a method from the data class called data content of URL. And then now that thing, it can fail, right? It can fail. So I will use try over here. So it means that just try to do it. Data content of, right? And then URL file. Okay, so I would do another one here. Let's JSON file URL equals, okay, and then we do URL file URL with path. So the path here is this one, and then here we do JSON file, right? Because this is a string optional, so I will unforce and grab it like that. All right, cool. And then here we just have to pass in. Now let's redo this one. We do data and then content of, and you will see the signature of this method, it throws some error. So it means that there's potentially some error. Things like there's some problem with your phone so that you cannot access the file system, or the file doesn't exist itself, right? But we know for sure that we need, in this demo, that we need to access the file. It has to be, otherwise it will fail. So we use try optional right here. It means that just try to do it. If it fails, that's okay. Don't break my app. Okay? And then we have the contents of, which is our JSON file URL. Sounds good? So now we have the JSON data. It turned the data from our JSON into the data. Right? If you are new from script 3, then data right here is init data, basically in script 1 and script 2. Okay? So let's turn our data into foundation object, because now we print out this data. It's just some crazy data. We have to turn that into JSON object. And the way we do that is we use the file, the class I wrote it for here for you called network service, and has a method called over here. It called static func parse JSON from data, and all it does here is you give it some kind of data, and then you use a class called JSON serialization.JSON object. Okay, so it parses the JSON data into a dictionary, and then we return that dictionary, which is a string to any object. Okay, so let's do that. Here I will use where is that? If let JSON dictionary, which is our network service dot parse JSON from data, and then we do the JSON data right here, right? The JSON data, and we return for us a JSON dictionary, and then we can have let episode dictionaries. Because now what we return for us here is the whole data, this whole data. What we have to do is access these episodes so that we can get an array of episodes, right? So episodes dictionaries equals to JSON dictionary, and then we have access the episode key. We cast it down as an array of string to any, like that, right? So this is a dictionary, and this is an array of dictionary. Sounds good? Next up, let's enumerate through this episode dictionaries. So we have for episode dictionary in the episode EPS dictionaries, right? Then let's new the episode equals to our episode, and then we just have to pass in an episode dictionary. So here we use EPS dictionary like that, right? And what we do next? Yeah, now we have a new episode. Let's just append that into our episode, append new episode. And finally, we'll return this array of episodes, return episodes, into this guy. And then all we have to do next is to use that episode. Alright, now when we run the app right now, if you run the app, I will view it so that we should make sure that we don't have any error. So if you run it, our table view is empty because we don't have any data yet. So let's go over our episodes table view controller right here, and then we declare a property called var episodes equals to an empty array of episodes. And then inside the viewDidLoad method, let's try to have the episodes equals to our episode dot download on episodes, right? And then when we return for us an array of episodes, all we have to do is self.tableview.reload data. We reload the data for our episodes, right? And now let's populate our table view data source. Number of sections is 1, that's cool. Number of rows is episodes.count. And then we have the table view cell for row at index path. So what we have to do is the episode table view cell right here. And then we should have an var episode, which is an episode force implicitly ungrabbed like that. Or yeah. Okay, sounds good. Next up, if this episode did set, if we get this set inside the episode table view cell, then I will call the self update UI, which is this method. So we call the update UI when an episode is set. Inside this update UI, we'll populate data for all of these properties on these IB outlets, right? So if you go back into the main storyboard, this guy is our IB outlet right here. So let's just do that, and we'll show you very fast how to download data from the web. So here, title label.text is the episode.title, right? And then we'll have the author image view. Dot image is because there's only one author, me right here, so I will do name Duc, right? There is an image that I got from the assets.exe assets right here. Sounds good. And then next up we'll have our description label. Description label.text to be the episode.description. Next up, let's do the created at label.text is, let's say we do Duc Tran, the name, and then we have the episode.created at, unfortunately ungrab like that. Okay, so we ungrab that guy. Let's make some space here. Created at label. Next up, we will learn how to download data from the web, from a URL. It's very fast so that we can get the thumbnail up and running. So here we got the thumbnail URL is our episode.thumbnail URL, right? So here I will check if let right here because it is optional. And then let's do network service. Let network service equals to our network service and with the URL of thumbnail URL like that, right? And then we do network service dot download image, which is a method that we got from the download image. Press enter here. Network service. Oops, sorry guys. So this is network service. This guy lowercase n dot download. Let me. Oops, this one we don't need to ungrab. So download image like that, and then we have a closure. This closure is the completion block. So press enter and return for us an image data. This image data is the data that we get from the web. Now, because this network service right here I did for you, it uses a class called URL session configuration and URL session to create a URL request and task, and then we download data from that. You can have a look inside here. Very simple code, very boilerplate, because every time we want to download data, we use that kind of code so that we don't have to write again, right? So that class you can use every time. Now here, let's do the image is UI image with the data with data of image data, we cast it as a data, right? And then now here there's one problem though. There's one problem. The problem is we have to put this image into the thumbnail image view. But the rule in iOS is you must do UI code in the main thread. But this one is not in the main thread. This one is off the main thread because it is asynchronous networking right here, right? Now, by the way, if you don't know all of those things, it's cool. What it only does is that when you make a network request to the server, it takes some time. It takes some time to download from the internet, right? To download stuff from the internet, right? So what it does in iOS is that it put the system into different threads like this. And there's one thing called the main thread. The main thread is all about UI code. It means that when the user tap a button, you do stuff on the main thread right here. And then all the data stuff here, you download it, right? You download it, or you upload it, or you share stuff. All of those things is off the main thread, right? So when you download data here, it may take 1 second, it may take 10 seconds, it may take forever because the network doesn't work. But when we get the data back from the server, we got the image back. In order to change the thumbnail image view right here, we have to get back to the main thread so that we can put the image into the thumbnail URL, which is the UI code, right? And in order to do that, we use called dispatch queue. This is Grand Central Dispatch .main.async. Okay, and then we use the async execute right here. Press enter. Inside this is a closure that we put some code inside. So here I will just use self.thumbnail image view .image to be our image. Sounds good? Alright, so that is our code right here. So the image here, let's view it. Alright, I hope it makes sense. Now that is our episode tail view cell class. Let's do one final thing, that is to populate data. For this tail view cell for row index path, right? We have, hey, be present, okay? I know this is kind of like very hard code right here, especially when you learn it. So be present, just pay attention, okay? So inside the episode tail view controller, inside the tail view episode tail view controller, we have the tail view cell for row and index path, and we also have an array of episodes. All we have to do now is to number one, we cast this guy as a episode tail view cell, and then let's have the episode is episodes subscript index path row, and then we do cell.episode equals to episode, because this cell is a episode tail view cell. It has an episode we just declare in the episode tail view cell, right? And everything will be on set. So now, let's run the project. Moment of truth. Let's run it and see how it looks like. Let's run it. Where it is? Here we go. We run it and boom! You see that? And the data is downloaded like that. Very, very cool. Very nice. Good job. Wow. And hey, now, by the way, when we click into the edge of the cell right here, it didn't show us anything. So I want to show you very fast to display a web page right here, right? To display a web page very, very fast. And the way you do that is using Safari View Controller, SS Safari View Controller. Number one, you need to import Safari services right here. And then number two, inside our tail view, let's select row and index path right here. All right, let's select row and index path. We'll do, let's see. We'll do number one. We get the table view dot deselect row at the index path. Let's do animated to be true, right? And then we got the let Safari VC. Oops. Let's do let episode to be our episode subscript. Do we have the index path? Yeah, we do the index path, right? row, like that. The episode subscript index path row, and then we do let's Safari VC stands for Safari View Controller equals to SF Safari View Controller. We pass into a URL which is the episode dot URL, and then we cast it, we force it and grab it like that. Okay, and then we do, let's say we want to make the Safari, let's put up this Safari, so self.present view controller Safari VC, animated to be true and completion is nil. Seems good. Let's run the project and see how it looks like. Here we go. Running, press it, and boom, we have an episode running up on the web page. How cool is that, right? So now, let's go back, click done here, you go back. See? Very, very nice. And in fact, you can do it like that. You can slide left and right like that. Very cool, huh? So now, I want to give you a challenge because it's a tradition in Developers Academy that every course, every video, we got some kind of code challenge for you. I know you have one inside your episode of script. Here's your last challenge: is to display a Safari View Controller to display this web page called http://ductran.co/blog, which is my blog right here. Okay, so do that. If we click this button, then this IB action will be triggered. Right now, nothing happened. So let's do your code challenge. As when you click into this full block, the tab, there will be a web page, Safari View Controller display for this guy. So I hope that you do that. Till then, do this code project, and then I will see you in the next episode. I will see you in the next training. Till then, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, craft your ideas, and contribute to the world. I hope that you see someday. And do the code challenge. Enjoy. See you. Put your comments and your questions right down below this video so I can answer them. I can see how you're working on that. Till then, go out there every single day of your life, learn new things, grab your ideas, and contribute to the world. See ya.
Alright, my friend, that is how you parse JSON in iOS. I hope that you enjoyed this training. I hope that you enjoyed the process so far. Ask your questions right down below this video. Put any questions that you have there for me. I don't care, whatever question, what kind of underwear you wear, I will answer those. Just put your questions right down this video for me. Let me know that you are here. Let me know that you're working through this with me. Let me know that you are there. I will cheer you on. Thank you so much for joining this.